All right, so get this. We're diving into a book today that's, well, it's not your typical memoir.
It's more like, I don't know, a spiritual adventure novel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's closer. Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. It's jam-packed with stories that sound like, well, honestly, they sound like something out of a fantasy epic.
But the thing is, Yogananda presents it all as straight-up fact. No embellishment.
Which just makes it all the more, I don't know, mind-blowing.
Right. You kind of have to reevaluate what you think is possible.
When I first picked it up, I was expecting something, a bit dry, like a yoga philosophy textbook or something.
Yeah, I get it.
But man, I was hooked from the get-go. These stories of saints, gurus, and experiences that seem to defy the laws of physics, it's just wild.
And we're talking levitation, materializing perfumes out of thin air, even outsmarting mosquitoes with willpower.
Oh, that's just the tip of the iceberg, trust me. We're going to explore past lives, the secrets of Kriya Yoga, the wisdom of masters like Sri Yukteswar, and then there's the ever-elusive Babaji.
Don't forget the American saint, Luther Burbank.
Right. A life full of encounters with, well, remarkable individuals, to say the least. Each one offering a glimpse into, well, the vast potential of human consciousness, I guess you could say.
Definitely.
So where do we even begin with a life this extraordinary?
Well, like most stories, it starts with his childhood, right, in India.
Yeah.
And even as a kid, there were signs that he was destined for something big.
Okay. Like what?
He had these vivid memories of a past life as a Himalayan yogi, which, brings up the idea of reincarnation, pretty central to his journey.
I can see how that might be a lot for some folks to swallow.
Right.
But the way Yogananda presents it, it's almost like, what if it really is that simple?
Makes you think, for sure.
Whether you buy into the whole reincarnation thing or not, it definitely raises questions about, what consciousness is and whether it exists beyond just this one life.
It does.
So tell me more about his childhood. What else jumps out at you?
Well, he was raised with a mix of devotion and, I guess you could say, practicality. His mother was incredibly religious, always helping those in need.
Sounds like a saint herself.
Right. And his father, he was a railway official, so grounded. But both parents had deep respect for this figure, Lahiri Mahasaya. He was a big deal in the Kriya Yoga lineage.
And it was his mother's devotion to Lahiri Mahasaya that led to, well, let's call it a remarkable healing experience when Yogananda was just a kid, right?
Yes. Yogananda gets hit with Asiatic cholera, really bad. His mother, she's desperate, so she focuses on a picture of Lahiri Mahasaya, prays for him to intervene.
And Yogananda recovers.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Wow. It makes you wonder about, I don't know, the power of belief, the power of focusing your intention, maybe even healing from a distance.
It definitely pushes the boundaries of what we think we know about how the mind and body work together.
And how our thoughts, our beliefs can influence our physical well-being.
For sure. But it wasn't just passively receiving miracles. There's that story where Yogananda, well, he basically gives himself a boil on his arm just by thinking about it.
I know, right? It shows the potential we all have to shape our reality with our thoughts, our intentions, but it also highlights the responsibility that comes with that.
It makes you think about all those times we dwell on negative stuff, fears and anxieties. Are we, accidentally manifesting those things into our lives?
It's a good question. Yogananda's story definitely encourages us to pay attention to our thoughts, try to cultivate a more positive mindset.
Okay, so we've got past lives, a devout family, a near-death experience, and a self-inflicted boil.
Yeah.
Sound like an eventful childhood. What happens next?
Well, remember that silver amulet he was given as a kid?
By the mysterious Sadhu.
Yeah, that one. And he said it would disappear, right?
Yeah, and that's when he would find his guru. It was like a mystical signpost pointing him towards his destiny.
Exactly. And as a young man, Yogananda, he feels this pull towards the Himalayas, this spiritual heart of India. He even tries to run away to the mountains, wants to immerse himself in all that.
I remember that. His first attempt to reach the Himalayas didn't exactly go as planned, did it?
Nope. His older brother intervened, dragged him back home. His family wasn't too keen on him becoming a wandering yogi.
I can imagine. But even with these setbacks, his desire to find his guru didn't fade, right?
Not at all. It was like this unquenchable thirst, for knowledge, for experience, for something bigger than himself. And that yearning, it eventually leads him to Sri Yukteswar, this strict but loving teacher who becomes his guide on the path of Kriya Yoga.
Sri Yukteswar. That name carries a lot of weight in Yogananda's story. I'm definitely curious to learn more about their relationship.
Me too.
And about the teachings that shaped Yogananda's path.
Their bond was, well, it was a mix of discipline and devotion, but also humor and deep spiritual insight. Sri Yukteswar had a way of pushing Yogananda's buttons, challenging him to grow.
But before we dive into all that, and Kriya Yoga, we can't gloss over all those amazing people Yogananda meets along the way.
Oh, right.
I mean, come on, this book is full of incredible characters, saints, and yogis.
It really is.
So give us the highlights. Who are some of these unforgettable folks?
Well, there's Ganda Baba, the perfume saint. He could get this materialized scents and objects at will,
Like, poof, a rose appears.
pretty much. Or, picture this, the Tiger Swami, who could, you guessed it, tame tigers.
Okay, now that's just showing off. I mean, wouldn't a true saint be more concerned with, I don't know, deeper matters?
That's a fair point. And Yogananda himself kind of wrestles with that. He recognizes that these feats are impressive, but they can also distract from the real goal, spiritual realization.
So what's the message here? Why even include those stories if they're just distractions?
I think Yogananda is showing us that the limitations we perceive, they're often our own doing.
Hmm.
If someone can bend reality like that, it makes you think, what are we truly capable of if we tap into, the full potential of our consciousness?
That's a pretty powerful thought.
It is.
Shifting the focus from the spectacle to the potential that's within all of us. Are there any other, let's say, memorable characters we should know about?
Oh, yeah. Tons. We've got Nagendra Nath Paduri, the levitating saint, literally floats during meditation.
No way.
And then there's Ram Gopal Muzumdar, the sleepless saint, radiated this aura of peace and light, supposedly hadn't slept a wink in over 50 years.
Floating, never sleeping. These stories sound like they're straight out of a comic book.
They do, but they're not just there for entertainment. Each one's a testament to the unexplored possibilities of, I guess, what it means to be human.
We're just scratching the surface here. There's so much more to explore, both in Yogananda's life and in what these encounters mean.
Definitely.
Where do we go from here?
Well, next we'll dive into that pivotal meeting with Sri Yukteswar and get into Kriya Yoga. But remember, Yogananda's journey wasn't just about ancient traditions. He was also fascinated by science and how it could reveal the wonders of the universe.
Oh, right. He talks about Jagadish Chandra Bose, that pioneering Indian scientist. What was the connection there?
Well, Bose was a close family friend and a brilliant scientist, invented instruments to study how plants respond to different stimuli.
To, like, talk to plants.
In a way, yeah. His research showed that plants have feelings, consciousness even, which really resonated with Yogananda's spiritual understanding.
Interesting. So science and spirituality, maybe they're not so different after all.
Exactly. Maybe they're just different ways of understanding the same reality. And that's a theme that runs throughout the book. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about seeing how they're connected, how they complement each other.
So we've got ancient wisdom, extraordinary people, and a bit of science thrown in. It's a pretty unique mix.
It is, and we're just getting started.
I'm ready for more.
There's so much more to uncover as we go deeper into Yogananda's experiences and the wisdom he shares in Autobiography of a Yogi.
Okay, so last time we left off with Yogananda wanting to go to the Himalayas, thinking that's where he'd find enlightenment.
Like it was in the mountains themselves.
Yeah, exactly. But like most things in life, it wasn't that straightforward, right?
Right. Definitely some detours along the way. As Sri Yukteswar pointed out, wisdom isn't always found in dramatic landscapes.
It's about finding the right teacher.
Exactly. And for Yogananda, that teacher, that guru, was Sri Yukteswar.
I have this image in my head of Sri Yukteswar being this super serious, almost like, austere kind of guru. Was he anything like that?
Well, he was definitely disciplined, no nonsense, always pushing Yogananda to be his best, didn't sugarcoat anything. But under that, I think there was a lot of warmth, genuine love for Yogananda.
Like a tough love kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that. There's this great story, actually, about how Sri Yukteswar teaches Yogananda to outsmart mosquitoes.
Wait, what? With like bug spray?
Not exactly. He teaches him to do it with willpower.
Okay, now you've got to explain that one. How do you control mosquitoes with your mind?
It's not mind control like you might think. Sri Yukteswar explained that even mosquitoes are drawn to certain energies, certain vibes, and if Yogananda could shift his own energy, he could make himself less appealing to them.
So it's more about, I don't know, like changing your own internal state rather than trying to control the mosquitoes themselves.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we might have more influence over our experiences than we realize.
Instead of feeling like we're at the mercy of everything around us.
Right.
Okay, so we've got mosquitoes and energy fields, but Sri Yukteswar was also the one who initiated Yogananda into Kriya Yoga, right? That seems to be where the book takes a turn towards, I don't know, like more practical techniques.
Yeah, definitely. Kriya Yoga, as it's explained in the book, is a technique for, I guess you could say, speeding up spiritual evolution.
Speeding it up.
Yeah, accelerating it. And it's all about breath control.
Breathwork is pretty popular these days. What makes Kriya Yoga so different?
Well, according to Sri Yukteswar, Kriya works directly with the life force, the prana, to awaken higher states of consciousness. It's not just about, calming the mind. It's about using your breath to direct energy and accelerate spiritual growth. He compares it to a scientific process, actually.
Interesting, like how plants can grow faster under certain conditions.
Exactly. And Kriya is like creating those optimal conditions for your spiritual growth.
So Kriya Yoga is like, I don't know, like a spiritual growth hack.
Yeah.
Did Yogananda actually experience, tangible benefits from practicing it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The book is full of Yogananda's spiritual experiences, many of them directly related to his Kriya practice, increased awareness, profound insights, even a deeper connection to, to the divine. And it wasn't just him either. Sri Yukteswar initiates others in the book, and they all go through their own transformations.
Makes you wonder, if more people knew about these practices, practiced them, could it have, I don't know, like a ripple effect on society?
That's a really interesting thought. It's something that Yogananda grapples with himself, actually, as he's tasked with bringing Kriya Yoga to the West.
Right.
But before we get to that, there are a couple of other really important figures we need to talk about.
You mean Lahiri Mahasaya Babaji? Like the guru's guru and then the guru's guru's guru?
Yeah, they're kind of like the forefathers of Kriya Yoga, each playing a vital role in, I guess you could say, its evolution and transmission.
Okay, tell me more.
Lahiri Mahasaya, Sri Yukteswar's guru, was this incredible figure, lived a life full of miracles, was a key figure in reviving Kriya Yoga. He really emphasized the importance of inner realization, over just outward displays of religious knowledge.
There's that story about him materializing a palace in the Himalayas. I mean, come on, a palace. That's got to be symbolic, right?
It's definitely a story that stretches the imagination, but I think it points to the limitless potential that's within us all. If someone can bend reality like that, what does that say about the nature of consciousness? What are we capable of if we could tap into that?
It's a good point. Maybe we limit ourselves with our own beliefs about what's possible.
Okay, and then there's Babaji, the immortal yogi Christ. He's almost like a mythical figure in the book.
He's definitely the most mysterious character. Yogananda never actually meets him face to face.
Really?
But he's always aware of his presence, receiving guidance through other disciples, even visions.
So what's Babaji's role in all of this? Why is he so important to Yogananda?
Well, aside from being Lahiri Mahasaya's guru and a powerful figure in the Kriya Yoga lineage, he's also the one who tells Yogananda to go to America.
Ah, that's right. That's a major turning point. Yogananda goes from being a disciple in India to, I don't know, like an ambassador of Eastern spirituality to the West.
Exactly. And it wasn't an easy decision for him, leaving his homeland, his guru. But he trusted Babaji's guidance, knew he was meant to share Kriya Yoga with a wider audience.
Can you imagine what it must have been like for him arriving in America in the early 1900s?
Talk about a culture shock.
It was a whole different world. At first, he struggled with English. Even had some funny experiences giving lectures. People were laughing more than they were, having spiritual awakenings.
Oh, it sounds like he eventually found his way and made some, I guess, pretty significant connections in the West.
Oh, he did. One of the most notable was with Luther Burbank.
The plant guy.
Yeah, the famous horticulturist. Yogananda actually dedicated Autobiography of a Yogi to him, called him an American saint.
Wow, that's a pretty big deal. What was so special about this Burbank guy?
Well, he was a pioneer in his field, developed tons of new plant varieties, but he was also a deeply spiritual person. Believed in the power of love, even talked to his plants, encouraged them to grow.
Talk to his plants. That's kind of out there.
It might sound strange, but there's more and more research coming out now that suggests plants can respond to stimuli, even communicate in their own way.
Interesting.
Maybe Burbank was tapping into something, some deeper connection with the natural world.
So science and spirituality, again, maybe not so different after all.
Right. Yeah. And the fact that Burbank was also initiated into Kriya Yoga, that's pretty telling.
It is. It speaks to the universality of these teachings.
It wasn't just Burbank either. Yogananda also meets Therese Newman, this Catholic stigmatist, who experienced some pretty wild spiritual phenomena.
Really reinforces the idea that there are many paths to connecting with the divine.
Yeah, it's not limited to one religion or culture.
Exactly. And through these diverse encounters, both in India and the West, Yogananda's own understanding of spirituality just keeps expanding.
But even as he's traveling, teaching, there's still this pullback to India, back to his guru, right?
There is. And his return to India after all those years in the West, it's really moving.
Kind of bittersweet.
Yeah, definitely. A sense of joy, but also the awareness that, nothing lasts forever.
You're talking about Sri Yukteswar's passing. I remember that being a really powerful part of the book.
It is. And what's even more remarkable is that Sri Yukteswar, he doesn't just die. He consciously leaves his body and then appears to Yogananda in astral form. Wait, hold on. Astral projection. Like outer-body experiences.
Exactly. Yogananda describes it as a state where your consciousness can separate from your physical body and travel to other realms.
Okay, so it's not just about the physical body dying. It's about consciousness continuing in a different form.
Right. And this is where Yogananda's story goes beyond just a personal account. It starts to explore the nature of reality itself.
Yeah.
Astral bodies, causal bodies, the idea that the material world is an illusion, and the ultimate goal of merging with the divine.
That's a lot to unpack.
It is.
But it's also a very hopeful message that death isn't the end. It's more like a transition.
Exact. It ties back to that core theme of human potential. Even after physical death, there's still growth, evolution, this journey towards greater understanding, greater connection with, well, with the source of it all.
And Yogananda's journey doesn't end with Sri Yukteswar's passing. He also has that encounter with Mahatma Gandhi.
That's right.
Two incredibly influential figures, each in their own way showing how spiritual principles can lead to social change.
They spend time together talking about spirituality, about nonviolence.
It's like this reminder that even when things seem impossible, there's always hope, always the possibility of change.
Absolutely. And their lives offer a blueprint for facing those challenges. Inner strength, compassion, the belief that a better world is possible.
And there are even more amazing people in this part of the book. Ananda Moyima, who embodies divine love, and Giri Bala, who literally lives without eating.
Yeah, she's another one who challenges our ideas of what's possible, shows the power of these yogic techniques transcending our limits.
It's like Yogananda is still soaking it all in, even as he's getting ready to return to the West. All this wisdom, all this energy to fuel his own mission.
He is.
It's a powerful build-up to that final chapter, his return and building his spiritual communities.
With everything he's learned, everything he's experienced, he's ready to create spaces where people can grow spiritually. So he heads back to the West, right, with all this knowledge from India, this mission to share Kriya Yoga with, well, with everyone.
Did he have trouble introducing these practices? I mean, early 1900s America, that's got to be a pretty big culture clash.
Yeah, for sure. Spirituality in America back then, totally different landscape. But Yogananda, he was good at, bridging those gaps. He could explain these complex ideas in a way that, I don't know, just clicked with people.
He didn't force it on anyone?
No, not at all. Just offered these insights, these practices to help people, no matter who they were or what they believed.
And I find it interesting, for a yogi, he was pretty into modern technology.
Right.
Traveling by ship, car, even airplane.
He wasn't afraid to use those tools to spread his message. I think he understood that, spirituality isn't about running away from the world. It's about engaging with it, but consciously.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and he gave lectures, wrote books, started the Self-Realization Fellowship, which is still going strong today.
What I find really admirable is that even with all that going on, he never lost sight of the core teachings. Still meditated, practiced Kriya Yoga, stayed connected to his lineage. It's like he embodied that balance of inner and outer work.
So important. It's easy to get caught up in the outer trappings of spirituality. But Yogananda, he reminds us that real transformation starts from within.
Everything else, the practices, the communities, it's all just there to support that inner connection.
Right.
And he didn't say you have to renounce everything, become an ascetic.
No.
He showed that you can live in the world, have a family, a career, and still cultivate that spiritual core.
Yeah. And that's a message that really speaks to people today.
For sure.
I mean, everyone's so busy, so many demands. It's easy to lose sight of what really matters.
Absolutely.
Yogananda, he gives us a roadmap for navigating life without losing that connection.
And then there's his vision for a world colony of peace at Encinitas, this place where people of all faiths could come together.
That vision is still alive.
It is.
Yeah. Encinitas is a hub for spiritual seekers now.
It's amazing to think about the impact one person can have. He went from this kid in India, fascinated by saints and yogis, to a spiritual leader who bridged East and West.
Left a legacy that's still growing, still inspiring people.
And it all goes back to that commitment to, well, to a path of awakening, both for himself and for everyone else.
Makes you think what potential is hidden inside each of us, just waiting to be, I don't know, to be unlocked.
That's a great question. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Autobiography of a Yogi, what really resonated with you from Yogananda's journey?
I think what struck me most is that spirituality isn't like a finish line you cross. It's a journey. And Yogananda's life, it had everything. Challenges, setbacks, incredible highs.
Hmm.
And he never gave up on his practice, his connection to the divine.
Or his mission?
Exactly.
It's a good reminder that the path of awakening, it's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it.
It is.
So for our listeners, what would you say is the key takeaway from all this? What can they take with them?
Be open to what's possible. I think that's the big one.
Yeah.
Yogananda's story, it challenges us to question what we think we know about ourselves, about the world.
To step outside those limitations.
Yeah, and if we do that, if we're curious, if we're willing to explore, who knows what we might find?
Don't be afraid to ask those big questions, to challenge your own beliefs, to embrace the mystery of it all. You might just find your own path to, well, to whatever enlightenment means for you.
And it all starts on the inside. Find a practice, whether it's meditation or yoga, or just being out in nature.
Right.
Connect with people who inspire you.
Your tribe.
And most importantly, trust your intuition, that inner voice that guides you.
So if you're feeling inspired to learn more, definitely check out Autobiography of a Yogi. It's a book that might just shift your perspective.
Maybe even spark your own spiritual adventure.
Who knows? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep seeking.